Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Very Fun Yarns channel here on YouTube. I'm going to do something a little different today, I think. I have been struggling to feel inspired to knit even, much less create a podcast over the last couple weeks. And I will share more of that with you probably as this vlog goes on. But I thought today, it is Tuesday, March 4th, and right now we are under a blizzard warning here in Minnesota. I believe we're supposed to start getting rain kind of like early afternoon, and then it's supposed to turn over into snow. And the snow accumulations could be up to 8 inches, I think they said, with 45 to 50 mile an hour winds. So I'm kind of in a get ready for a storm mode. And to be completely honest, I really like blizzards or snow days where we have to stay at home. I think it is because when I was a child, my mother was great at making snow days super fun and special. I have a meowy cat in the background, so if you can hear that. And she used to, she worked from home, and so whenever we'd have a snow day or a big storm, she would plan, like we would play games together, and we'd always bake something special, usually cookies of some sort, and it was something we really looked forward to. So we have been so non-snowy here in Minnesota the last couple winters that I'm kind of looking forward to it. So long story shorter, I'm going to take you with me over today and tomorrow as the snow comes in and kind of share with you what I'm doing, some of the work I'm working on, some of the things I have been doing to try to get my knitting mojo back, for lack of a better word, or crafting mojo, because I haven't really even been wanting to knit or crochet. But I have done a few other creative things. I've been working on some scrapbooking, and I redid this room, which I will share with you later in the video. So I hope you're well wherever you are and you're staying warm and cozy, and this video will bring you a little joy. So I will see you in a little bit. Hello again. It is now the afternoon on Tuesday, and I wanted to check in with you real quick before it gets too dark for me to really record anything. So I wanted to catch you up a little bit. I have a couple, I'm going to sprinkle in some projects in this vlog, so sort of like a mini podcast throughout my chatterings with you, but also I wanted to catch you up. I had some lovely people reach out to make sure that I was okay, and I am. Thank you for asking and checking. I've been away for a little while. If you follow my podcast, you will know that I had been going through some health things, and I had a couple tests scheduled at the beginning of February. So all that kind of prep health stuff, coupled with the political environment in the country right now, just sort of really was exhausting me. And good news is that all my tests that I had at the beginning came back normal. I had 8 different biopsies done in my GI tract, from my small intestine, stomach area, all the way down through my colon, and those were all negative. They didn't show anything except some mild gastritis in my stomach. I met with follow-up stuff with my regular doctor, and she gave me the green light, and the diagnosis they ended up making was that I had gotten, after my surgery in December, had gotten colitis and some GI bleeding, and it was all a result of the NSAIDs, ibuprofen pain meds that they gave me. I was on a lot of pain meds after my surgery, and I seemed to be sensitive to them. She said she didn't think it was a true allergy, but that it was a severe sensitivity. So they've added that to my chart, and hopefully I won't have to deal with that again. And then the only other thing with that is that as a part of all of the issues I was going through in the fall, and now still trying to get my cycle back to something that resembles normal, my iron levels are quite low. So I am anemic, and they thought it was getting better when they did my blood work in December. And because I was having stomach issues, they took me off of the iron supplements because those are kind of hard on your stomach. But then my iron dropped again. And so she put me back on those supplements for an indefinite amount of time until we see some serious movement. So I don't know if you know anything about blood and whatnot. Your iron levels are tested with your hemoglobin test, which they usually do as a first test. But those are your current, from what I understand, current day-to-day levels, whereas your ferritin level is your storage. And the level of normal for ferritin is anywhere from 6 to 137, which I talked to her about. I thought that was crazy. Mine started at a 4. I've gone up to a 5, but it's still very low in terms that she said ideal. I thought this was fascinating. She said that if you talk to mental health providers, they will tell you that low levels of iron correlate with depression, anxiety, and that sort of stuff, which, hello, welcome to daily life these days. So my low iron probably isn't helping with that. So, but anyway, they say that mental health professionals, back to the story, they say that 50 is a really good number, ideal number for ferritin levels. But she said more realistic is 30. So I still have to work on my iron enough to get not only my hemoglobin up into normal, but my stores of iron up. So I'm working on that. It's kind of exhausting to always keep track of how much iron you eat in everything. And I don't eat red meat or chicken, turkey, land animals. I like to say I don't eat land animals. I do eat eggs. I don't eat dairy because I have a hard time digesting it. So I eat a lot of beans and vegetables, pastas and things. So anyway, it's a daily struggle right now. But I am starting to feel better. And but before that, before I saw her, I was not doing so good. I didn't feel like knitting. I just didn't feel like doing much of anything besides sitting on the couch, to be completely honest. So that was kind of a bummer. But I did, people often say, well, I just don't feel like knitting. And there's so many different reasons why you don't feel like crafting, whether it's knitting or crochet or whatever it is you do in fiber arts. And my advice to those people was always try something different. So I took my own advice and I redecorated my office. Funny story here is that I have 4 boys. And so there was a lot of blue in my life. And you can see I have a pink chair. So this is our guest room as well. But I embraced the pink and made it my happy place. So I will probably give you a little video tour of that tomorrow when I film. But it's a little messy right now because the second thing that's creative that I've been doing is scrapbooking and sorting through photos and organizing photos. I love to do that kind of stuff. I used to actually be a creative memories consultant and teach classes on photo preservation and stuff back 15 years ago. So anyway, that coupled with some extra iron in my diet has gotten me a little more inspired. And I did also cast on a couple, with the world right now. I've been a little, feeling like I want to do something to help people that are struggling. And so I donate knitted items. I've talked about this before, to different organizations. And unfortunately, the ones that are most local to me, they don't take. There is a baby one that I can give really tiny newborn things to, but larger items and things, they don't have the room to store them here, like our shelters and at least the ones in Rochester where I live closest to. So anyway, there is a Pine Ridge Reservation out in South Dakota that has a lot of needs. And so I started making some cute things. So look, I cast on this little sweater. Isn't that cute? I forget what the pattern is. I will put it down below. It is made out of this. I had some leftovers. This is like color phasing yarn. It's on my project page, which will be linked below. You can see it's kind of purple. I made some purple mitts for one of my son's friends earlier on this winter, and I had this big skein left. And again, decluttering also makes me feel better. So I have been decluttering and making things pretty around me. And so I was like, oh, what should I make with that? You know, I think I should make something. So I cast on 2 different projects to donate just because I wanted to make something out of this yarn that I thought was really pretty yarn. So I cast on this sweater, and this is supposed to be, there's 2 sizes in this sweater. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. I think this is listed as Aran weight yarn, I want to say. And I'm making the biggest size, which is supposed to be a size 2. So I cast this on like a week ago, really. And I'm almost to, I think I maybe have 3/4 of an inch left, and then I will do the ribbing and then the sleeves, which I think I'm going to do the sleeves 2 at a time. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. I'm trying to figure out, like, kind of want the sleeves to look the same. I don't know, you know, so maybe I will do like so many inches on one and switch and do so many inches on the other. I'll have to see about that. But that was the one thing I cast on. And the other thing I cast on is with this yarn. Gosh, let me see here. I'm going to grab it. A different skein. This yarn is one of the first like woolly yarns that I ever purchased. I think I purchased it in 2016, a long time ago. 2015, it was a long time ago. It's called Kenzie. And it is from New Zealand. No, it has 50% New Zealand merino, 25% nylon, 10% angora, 10% alpaca, and 5% silk knolls. And I believe it's listed as a worsted weight. It's made in New Zealand, it is. And I purchased it because I love it. The color is so beautiful. But it's not crunchy, so to say, but it's definitely not super soft. Like, I've tried I should say a million. I think I've tried like 4 projects with this, and I have frogged all of them. The last one I tried was a pair of mittens, which I actually liked the mittens, but I made the sizing was wrong. I think it needed to be a little bit smaller. And I just, you know how it is sometimes when you make something and you don't love it right away, not the yarn or the pattern, but the mashing together of the yarn and the pattern. And so then you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm over it. So I've tried various things. Anyway, I have about 600 yards of this, and I just decided I really want to knit on that. I'm making my nose itch. I really want to knit on that. So I cast on, I'm just kind of winging it. So I have put out a pattern, side note, the Rodeo Sweetheart. Hello everybody, welcome to Thursday, March 6th. You may have realized here as I'm talking that I didn't come on to chat with you yesterday like I had planned. We did get a snowstorm. It was a blizzard, but I would say it was one of the milder blizzards that I've seen. That sounds kind of funny and maybe ridiculous unless you live in Minnesota or Wisconsin or somewhere up north here. But it was snowy and it was windy, but I think I don't know what the grand totals were, but I think we only got about maybe like 4 inches of snow. So it was a lot of blowing around, whereas like a couple years ago, we got like 12 or 14 inches of snow, followed by 50-mile-an-hour winds. And then that's like serious blizzard, block your road. That time, the drifts were so big that our road that we live on that connects to our driveway area was completely blocked for like almost 24 hours. You couldn't get through. The drifts were so big. So that's what I was hoping for. Serious snowstorm, serious act of Mother Nature, but we didn't quite get there. So to be completely honest, I was kind of bummed yesterday because it wasn't as ferocious of a storm as I was in the mood for. I guess I had some hidden anger that I was hoping Mother Nature would get out for me. But anyway, I just didn't feel mentally in a state to like chat with you. I also didn't do like any knitting yesterday. I may have knit like a couple rounds on the socks that I'm going to show you before, like when I was on the treadmill. But other than that, I just didn't feel like knitting. I spent a lot of time yesterday. I did make cookies, which you will have seen in some of the video. I did play games with my kids. My oldest son that's home with me, who's actually my third child, he does have kind of a bad cold. He tested negative for COVID, but he was home Tuesday from school. And yesterday he would have been home from school because he still had a fever, but his classes were canceled at the technical college in town. And then, let's see, today he still is pretty sick, but we see a nutrition response therapist, which helps us with supplements and things like that. And so he went in and got some testing done to see what kind of supplements would kind of basically, it doesn't fix anything, but it kind of supports his immune system a little bit more. So he went and did that today, but he still has a fever, so he's downstairs in front of the fireplace taking a nap. But I wanted to come here quick to chat with you before I leave to go get my second oldest son, who's coming home for spring break here today. And I actually recorded this once already, but my microphone, I didn't test it before, and the battery went after about 3 minutes. And so I had this like 20-minute segment recorded, and there was no sound. So I'm going to do a quick re-record of that to share with you. I wanted to share a couple projects, a little progress that I have made on one that I showed you earlier, as well as a couple finished objects that I worked on since I came to you last, and something else that I am currently working on. So I will say this is my way of not wanting to sit down and do the whole recording at once by doing this little vlog. Plus, to touch on again what I talked about earlier, is that I haven't been feeling any sort of interest in knitting or crochet for the last like 2 or 3 weeks. It sounds ridiculous, but I sort of made myself knit or crochet because I don't know, it feels weird. Like if you knit and crochet a lot, like every day, it's like a part of you. So when you don't feel like doing it, it's depressing. So anyway, I did some other things. If anybody out there is feeling a similar vibe, especially if you're like up here in the north where like it's like brown and cold, and up until yesterday, we haven't had a lot of snow. So it's pretty much brown, cold, and dreary. Now today it is very bright and sunny, plus the snow on the ground makes it even brighter. But if you are feeling like, I've heard people say I don't have any knitting mojo, do not feel bad. Do not feel bad about yourself. It's okay. But what I would say helped me is helping me is to step and do something completely different. And I did mention this, I think, a couple days ago when I did a little recording at the beginning of this little vlog that I started to reach out into some of my other things that I used to do creatively, particularly scrapbooking. So I repainted this craft room that I was in. It used to be a blue color. You might remember. Now it's this like really pale pink. It's almost like white. It's so pale, but in certain lights you can't see it, and I really like pink. In case you didn't know that about me, I have a pink desk chair, and I got some curtains, and I've not had curtains probably in 8 years because every time I get curtains, my cats will rip them or try to climb on them. So I just gave up. But my cats are getting slightly older now, and this room is a little more protected in that usually if the cats are in here, it's not like the living room downstairs where they like run around and play. This room, if they come in, they usually if they're playing, I'm in here to supervise, or they're sleeping next to me while I work. So I did get some curtains, and I'm going to do a little walk around and probably share some of that. I don't know if I'll talk over it, but I'll definitely put some in here. But I just made it kind of my happy place. It's not a huge room, but that was the first thing I did to kind of spark some creativity. And now, last night and the last couple nights, like one night I scrapbooked. I am a power scrapbooker. If any of you out there do photo kind of stuff, I am not a putsy super decorative. I'm a like, put the stuff on the page, make it look nice, add the story, add the embellishments, and move on. So I finished an album that my husband and we took a like second honeymoon to Hawaii in 2022 for our 20th wedding anniversary, which actually was in 21, but because of COVID and everything going on, yeah, we didn't go that year. But we were gone for 2.5 weeks. We went to the island of Kauai and the island of Hawaii. And I think I was filming then. I think one of my old podcasts was when we were in Hawaii. So I'll link that below if that's something that interests you. Anyway, I had like the first chunk of that book done. I had gone on a little retreat, and I did the second chunk, which was about 20 pages that I did in probably 3.5 hours. And I just powered through it. I put the page protectors on, and my husband enjoyed looking at it. So I finished that. And then, and side note, what fueled me to partly was moving around stuff in here to start scrapping again. But also I also loved secretly, I don't know how secretly, I love to organize things. I love to watch the decluttering videos. I really love to live minimally. Like, I don't like to have a lot of stuff out. If anybody has heard of Cass from Clutterbug, again, I'll list some of these below if this interests you. But she's big into like different styles of organizing, and I am a hardcore cricket in her world, which means that I like to have hidden storage, like baskets where I can put stuff in, and I like to micro organize, which means I like it very detailed. So I've been watching a lot of those, and one of the ladies, the Minimal Mom that I was watching, I think it was her, said a comment that there is also unfinished objects or projects are clutter, and that or can be clutter. Now, if you're a maker and you like to have lots of projects, I mean, you probably have a system, and you try to have a system maybe. But there comes a point where usually everybody, either you like start to stuff and shove it and hide it in places, or it just becomes too overwhelming for you and you have to stop and either frog or finish the projects. Well, they weren't necessarily talking about craft projects per se, but I think it was kind of inferred that was a part of it. But like mending, she did mention that mending, or in this case, I have all these albums and photos waiting. You know, if you're pre-digital, photos, we used to not know what they looked like, right? So you just print them all. And then would you sort them? Maybe, maybe not. So I had a huge box. I had my mother-in-law's box, which since I came to you last, I finished her photos that I had. I have kind of slowly been making albums for her because when I used to sell creative memories and teach classes, she was like, oh, I love this, is really cool, I love what you're doing, but I will never do this. So here, take my photos and will you put them in some order for me? And that was like 15 years ago. So I had them and I had slowly been making her an album, kind of one a year, one every couple of years. And I gave her the last one for her birthday, February 13th, since I came to you last. And then I had a few random photos left that I was kind of like, I don't know who these people are, and I don't know if they're important to you. So here you go, have them back. And so I got that out of my house, and was then moving to my box of photos that I had printed. I think I had a couple years and I organized some of those and I sorted them out and got them ready. And then yesterday evening, so this is a lot of rambling here. Yesterday evening, I finished all my work. I worked a lot yesterday on the Advent countdown kits, a lot of scanning and labeling and that kind of stuff after I did homework with my son and played games and all that jazz. In the evening, back to my story, I had this big chunk, I don't know, it was probably like 2 or 3 inches of photos printed out of early homeschooling things. At one time, I've been a homeschooling mom since 2010, so this is my 16th school year. And when I first started homeschooling, there was a lot of chat about how, oh, if the school district comes and they want evidence that you're actually schooling your kids, you should take pictures and do an album and, yada, yada. So, and of course, when you do stuff, I take pictures anyway with kids, right? So I had a lot of pictures that I had printed out but never put into an album of like field trips that we went on or science projects or, any of such things. And so I wanted to get those in an album. So I kind of decided after I organized everything, I weeded out, I decluttered, like duplicates or pictures that are not very flattering, that kind of stuff. And I figured out that I'm going to scrapbook with paper, paper and physical albums, tape, that kind of thing, with what I have printed. And then going forward, I can still do that, but I can be more selective. Because realistically now, how many pictures do we take every year and are on our digital devices? And there's no way I could print all those out and scrapbook them. That would be so many scrapbooks. My poor kids, they already have, the first one I think has 6 or 7 albums that are his. Like, is he really going to want those someday? Maybe he will. I don't know. But I can still do them digitally, and then you can fit a lot more photos in. So I will probably be more selective going forward. But all that said, I was so excited and I wanted to do some more. But after I finished the Hawaii album, I ran out of tape. And I like to use the Creative Memories tape. I'm still a hardcore Creative Memories supporter. And so I ordered some online, and instead of actually scrapbooking, I did power layouts. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you lay out like your pages, you pick out which photos you're going to do, which paper you're going to do, and then you stack it up in order. So then when my tape comes, I'll have this stack of pages I'll just take out, and I've already made decisions about what the color scheme will be, what I'm kind of envisioning, and it'll go way faster. So I power layouted yesterday evening for about an hour and a half or so. I did 30 pages. So I was a power scrapbooking queen yesterday. Anyway, that's a lot of jabber about my other creative thing, but you probably can tell as I'm talking that I'm feeling creative again. So if you're not feeling creative, try something else. Try some embroidery or cross stitch or coloring. Coloring is, you can work with different colors and get some ideas about things that maybe you want to put in a project. Color is always inspiring. You could do, what did I say, embroidery? You could do cross stitch. You could do beading. You could do jewelry. You could do, I always forget what those are called. Those beads that you pop down and look like a mosaic. diamond painting, that's the word I'm looking for. So try something else. Step outside the box, try something else, and I can probably 98% guarantee you that eventually your creativity will come back and you'll be ready to knit or crochet again. And if you're not, please see someone, see a health professional, because maybe there's something going on that's more serious and you need some help. So, all right, now I'm jabbering so much and I have to leave soon. So let me show you a couple quick things because I want to edit this video tonight and tomorrow. And when I get home from getting my son, it's probably going to be dark. So lighting is better now. First things first, I wanted to show you some progress I made. This is my little sweater. Isn't that adorable? This is I looked it up, the little Berwick raglan pullover, and it is by Fiber of Maine. And they have two sizes. I think it's like a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old size. This is the bigger size. It is a bulky weight raglan pullover. You do not knit the neck until after you do the body. So you knit on and you just knit stockinette and then you go down. The pattern calls for, I said bulky weight. I think it's a US 10 for the body and a US 8 for all the ribbing. I knit loosely, so I'm doing a US 8 and a US 6. And I am using I wrote it down, what it was called, the Caron Colorama Halo Perfect Phasing yarn, and it is in Lavender Frost. And it starts out with like a darker purple, and you can see now it's gotten down to the lighter purple. So I'm doing so it's close, it matches most closely. I decided to do the neckline first, so it'd be like a slightly lighter purple, and then I'm going to do the sleeves, and I'll probably do like maybe a couple rows on one, and then I'll do a couple rows on the other, just so, I don't know, I'll have to do like a chunk because I don't want to cut the yarn and do it too much. So I'll have to think about that, how I can do that. Maybe I can do it like 2 at a time socks. I'll think about that. It's been a while since I've done 2 at a time socks, but I think I remember, did I have 2 balls of yarn when I did two at a time socks? I can't remember. I think I did. All right, that is for a later date, but super cute pattern, highly recommend. It does have, the pattern itself has this like diamond pattern on the front, and I just decided to make it stockinette. You could certainly do it however you want, but it's a good basic pattern for this thickness of yarn. I thought it was really nice. So I have that. And then the other one that I've been working on, I was telling you about, is these socks. These are the Love Story socks, and they are by Kay Jones. Her and Dan that's her husband, from the Bakery Bears. They put on an event for their patrons. It's a knit along from February 1st to 14th, and it's called Valenvent. It's kind of a countdown to Valentine's Day. And it's just got a little bit of a texture on the side here. But there's a free pattern that goes with it, and kind of knit along. There's little videos to encourage you. She uses I think it's called a butterfly heel. That's what it's called. But I tried it and I just didn't like how it fit. So I ripped it out, which is why these have been taking me so long, because I did the heel like 3 times. So I just did a heel flap and gusset. And this yarn, I believe it's on my project page, but I believe it's Spartacus Dyes yarn. And I got it from a friend who didn't, we were at a retreat and she had a table of yarn out of stuff that she was trying to get rid of, that she was in a club and it just didn't speak to her. The color didn't. And I believe it's a Gilmore Girls colorway. I am not 100% sure, but again, on my project page, which will be linked below. All right, and then, so those are the 2 things I've been working on primarily. I also have been working a little bit on the Bits and Bobs blanket that I'm making for my son, who is a senior in school this year. But I didn't bring that up to show you, so I'll show you that on the next video that I do. But I did complete a few projects, 2 of which I'm just going to talk about quickly, and I'll flash some photos because I have already gifted them. One is a pair of DK weight socks. They're scrappy socks. They're for my youngest son, and he loves purple, and I had a lot of scraps, and so I just decided to hold. I did two fingering weight held together and two different fingering weight held together. So there is a little bit of yarn management, but I held them together, and then I'd do like one row of this one row of this one, and I'd go back and forth. And when one of them ran out, I'd cut it and I'd add in two new colors, knit, 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 knit every other row. And then when this one ran out, I'd cut it and add it in. So it's very scrappy. The two socks do not match. Initially, I was going to try to match the socks, but then I was like, this is way too much work to cut the yarn and weave in all the ends. And he didn't care. He doesn't care. So I did try to make, I think I forgot on one of them, and the heel is different. But you can make, if you try that technique with your scraps, just make the heel and the toe and the cuff. You could like have, if you had a bigger scrap of like say 50 grams or something, you could make those the same, or you could just do the toe and the cuff the same, or just the heel the same, but try to do something that kind of is the same, and then it will bring it together. It'll make it feel more unified. But that is a great way to use up scraps, and I have a lot of scraps going on right now. I did knit those on a US 2, which I think I have decided is a little bit tight. And also I was doing 72 stitches. I might go down a little bit on the stitch count and go up on my needle size because I don't think he needs it quite so dense. So that was one thing I finished. And then I also finished another pair of the fingerless gloves, which is a free pattern by Donna Kimball. I've made a ton of these. These were for my oldest child. He picked out some yarn when he was home. Actually, it was after his trip to Spain. They have it's called J term, where he goes to school. So it was sort of at the end of January, and he picked out this like brown color, which is called, I believe, Farm Cat, and it was a BFL fingering from Stranded Dye Works when Jude was still dyeing. And then there was a little bit of a section with Truffle Shuffle, which was from Lavender Loon, and that's the darker brown in the mitts. And these are fingering weight yarn. I knit them on a 0. But again, my knitting has been slightly tighter lately, and so I knit those on a 0, but they were a little tight. So I think maybe next time I will knit them more on a 1 instead of a 0. I think the pattern calls for a 0. But, I find that when life is kind of stressful, my knitting is tighter. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. During COVID, I knit one sock on this pair of socks that was supposed to be a gift during the whole lockdown. And then I put it aside, and a couple months later when things were a little bit calmer, I knit the other one. They were two different sizes. It was crazy. I could not, luckily they fit my feet. The gift recipient was the same size as me. So I was okay with one being a little tighter than the other, but I was too embarrassed to gift them. I had to start over because they were so different. So watch that. If you are like that, your gauge may change depending on how you feel. Okay, so that was the other thing. And then the last thing I'm sitting on here is this nice fluffy pillow. This is the, I wrote it down, what is it called? The Basket Weave Pillow by Kathy Lewinsky. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. I can't remember if it's a PDF or I think it might be one of those where it's in a blog and there's a link. But very simple basket weave on the front and stockinette on the back. I used a US 11 needle, and I used, hopefully I didn't bump my microphone there. Sorry if there's extraneous noises. I used a US 11, and the colorway is Coney Island. It is a Lion brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick. So kind of a stripy greens and oranges, very fall. It's for a bedroom. It's a 20 by 20 pillow, and the insert, I love these inserts, pillow inserts from IKEA. They are down feathers in the inside, which it's so fluffy, and it doesn't, sometimes if you use the polyester or the fill pillows, they kind of get lumpy, and you get chunks of the filling in different areas, and I hate that. That drives me nuts. I feel like they don't last as long. So anyway, That's what this is, 20 by 20. The pattern is set up for a 20 by 20. I was too lazy to try and match her gauge exactly, so I just knit a section and checked my gauge, and then I cast on accordingly. So yeah, next time I think I will make it slightly bigger because it is a little bit snug. I think it could have, the actual cover part could have been a little bit looser. I did not, you could also make it so you had a button and then you could do buttonholes on one end so you could take it off, but I know I'm not going to wash it that much, so I just left really long tails when I wove in and I sewed it, and if I need to wash it, I'll just pick out the ending. I did a mattress stitch to join it. I'll just pick it out and then I can always reattach it. So that is that. All right. I'm very jabbery. This took a little longer than my other one. I don't even think I was talking that much, but I must have gotten excited about all the scrapbook stuff, but so be it. But I do need to get going. I need to go make some quick lunch, and so that I can take it on the way to go get my son from college. So I hope you enjoyed this little chatty, snowy vlog as something different for me to come to you to share what I'm doing and what I'm up to. But it was just a little more creative way. Again, another different way to try out creativity. I love doing the like snippets of images that are a part of a vlog, kind of. It's a very creative process for me. So I was in the mood to do that more than just a regular episode. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will hopefully not be away for too long again until I come back. So I hope wherever you are having a lovely day and you are finding inspiration somewhere and with something that brings you joy. So hope you're well, everybody. Goodbye. See you in the next time.